The UNSC had few weapons in its arsenal that could either inflict serious damage on a Covenant ship, or outright destroy one in a single hit. MACs, or otherwise known as magnetic accelerated cannons, were huge coil guns found inside many UNSC ships. They were often so large that the ship would be designed around the weapon itself. However, MACs aboard ships, while powerful, took precious time to recharge, and would have to siphon power from other areas of the ship, such as the engines. This meant that UNSC ships would have to use their MACs sparingly and tactically, often as part of a volley with other UNSC ships, as one MAC from a ship was usually not enough to break a Covenant ship's shields and pierce the hull. The UNSC also had various nuclear warheads, and while they could potentially be a Covenant ship destroying weapon, this could only be the case if the shields were already down. The use of a Nova bomb was extremely reserved, as the weapons were so powerful that if detonated, even near a planet, the destruction would destroy the planet's atmosphere, incinerating the planet's surface, and forever condemning the world to environmental calamity. It's because of this, and the fact that they were resource-intensive weapons, that Nova bombs were not suitable for planetary defence against Covenant ships. Though similar to how the UNSC installed MACs aboard their naval vessels, they also built specially purposed space stations to act as platforms for a weapon known as a supermac. Supermacs, most commonly found on orbital defence platforms around human worlds, were extremely powerful and competent weapons. They would prove instrumental in buying time for the UNSC to defend and evacuate their worlds from the Covenant. In orbit around the planet of Reach were 20 supermac platforms. Each one could accelerate a projectile weighing 3,000 tons to a 0.4 of the speed of light. And unlike the MAC guns aboard UNSC ships that took several minutes to reload, a supermac could reload and fire every 5 seconds. While MACs are advanced weapons, the theory is simple. Along the barrel of the MAC are coils, and when a projectile passes a coil it increases in speed, and the speed of the projectile further increases with each coil passed. As such, the longer the MAC gun, the more powerful and faster its projectile would be. For this reason, orbital defence platforms that housed MACs were several times larger than UNSC ships. Furthermore, the supermacs in a planet's orbit were wirelessly powered from generators located on the poles of the planet. During the fall of Reach, Cortana counted 314 Covenant ships. This was certainly a problem as the UNSC usually only won space battles when the Covenant were outnumbered 3-1, and not the other way around. The supermacs, however, would help even the odds, even if the odds just gave the UNSC more time. Supermacs were the most powerful non-nuclear weapons available to the UNSC, and could destroy a Covenant ship in a single shot. Such was the fate of a Covenant destroyer when it was hit by a supermac above Reach. Its shields were instantly depleted, with the ship's structure fragmenting into thousands of pieces upon impact with the 3,000-ton round. When 16 of Reach's supermacs fired, they found 16 targets, resulting in 16 Covenant ships destroyed. Another 18 targets were acquired, successfully hit, and were ripped apart like tin foil. In this particular engagement, the Covenant knew how dangerous the supermacs were, and would sacrifice many Covenant ships to destroy the defence platforms. 6 Covenant ships emerged from the debris field, and fired their plasma weapons, though the supermacs also fired, destroying the Covenant ships. However, it would prove to be too late. While powerful weapons, the supermac platforms can seldom move, and are for the most part stationary. Additionally, like all UNSC ships at the time, they were unshielded, and very susceptible to the plasma and laser weapons used on the Covenant ships. The salvos fired by the now destroyed Covenant ships were able to disable and destroy 5 of the supermac platforms with just a few hits. As such, for supermac platforms to be able to operate effectively, they needed to have round-the-clock protection from UNSC fleets, as well as ground protection for their planet-side generators. A disadvantage of supermacs was their general ineffectiveness against small Covenant vessels, such as Phantoms, Seraphs, and boarding vessels. This was the case for supermacs during the Battle of Earth, where the Covenant Expeditionary Force, the Fleet of Sacred Consecration, hanged out of range of the supermacs, and instead deployed hundreds of boarding craft, carrying bombs that would be deployed by Covenant troops to destroy the Supermax from within the platform, a strategy taken straight out of the UNSC playbook. While some of the Supermax such as Malta and Athens Station were destroyed by boarders, Master Chief along with Marines garrisoned aboard Cairo Station were able to defeat the Covenant and disarm the bomb, which was then used to destroy the Covenant assault carrier, Day of Jubilation. In addition, a large majority of Covenant expeditionary forces were repelled and destroyed by the UNSC defenders, largely in part to the Supermax's ability to kill a Covenant ship in one shot. The destructive and defensive capability of a Supermax orbital defence platform cannot be disputed, with numerous accounts of anecdotal evidence proving that they can destroy even the most powerful Covenant ships in just a single hit. Despite this, the technological advantage held by the Covenant was just too great, with Covenant ships being able to destroy most UNSC vessels and stations with just a few hits from their plasma weaponry. Had the UNSC been able to incorporate energy shielding to their naval vessels and orbital defence platforms sooner, the UNSC might have been able to stop the Covenant when they invaded their worlds. However, the UNSC would not apply energy shields to their ships until after the Covenant War. And that concludes this lore video on the Orbital Defence Platforms, otherwise known as the Supermax. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and make sure to stay in the loop with more Halo content by hitting the bell icon and subscribing. And until next time, Spartans, this is Josh, signing off.